Secure your tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the La Platas on a rocky mountain high. Get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners and settle down snugly at mile marker 420 in colorful Colorado. Welcome to We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. I'm so glad you guys could join us this evening. I'm your host, TessaTNT, and I'm super stoked that you guys are here tonight to hang out with us on the Paranormal Forum. Tonight we're going to be talking about everything normal, everything paranormal, and anything basically under the sun that pops up. So if you're listening live right now, you're listening on Spreaker.com. You can also find us live on KPNL Radio, which you can find at kpnl-db.com. You can also find and follow us on Twitter, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iTunes, iHeartRadio, CastBox, Tumblr, YouTube, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, Deezer, Podcast Addict, as well as Podcast Chaser. So tonight we have Miss Mea Savage. She is the psychic medium for Four Corners Paranormal Investigations. Welcome, Mea.
Hey, thank you for having me.
And then we also have Mr. Jim Morris from Scotland. I like to call him the Scotland Edge. And he runs a UFO site. What is your site called again, Jim? Can you tell our listeners?
UFO Case Analysis .uk.
Very nice. And we also have Diecast J, who, has a track where we race diecast cars, and he refuses to race the car shiny side up. He's always got to be flipping those dillies. He's not quite into the discussion or chat room yet, but he will be here shortly. He said he was ready, so perhaps he'll be here in a few. So we were just talking about COVID, so I had a scare the other day. My youngest came home with a sore throat, and then I went over to Mia's and hung out for a little bit, came back home, and it had progressed from a sore throat to a cough, runny nose, and a temperature. And laying next to her, it just felt like a freaking little heater going on there. So we had to give her medicine. She was in bed all day. She finally ate later on that day, but I was pretty scared that poor little thing might have COVID, but turns out it's just a common cold. I found out when I went to the grocery store, our neighbor lady works there, and I was telling her what was going on with Lily, and she's like, oh yeah, I was wondering why she wasn't at the bus stop today. And then she revealed that she actually sent her son to school sick. She's like, I just gave him medicine and sent him to school. And I was like, well, bless your pointed little head, and thanks for sharing. But yeah, we're out of the woods. Everything's looking good. No COVID tested, nothing going on there. She's feeling much better, so I'm grateful for that. What has been going on with you guys? We'll start with Miss Mea first, and then we'll move on to Jim. Hopefully after Jim, Jay will be here.
I've had just like a ton of mechanical issues. I'm not sure why, and I always look to like, is there a bigger meaning to this? Because it's a little ironic that I got a flat tire on my car, the right rear, and then I had to take the razor to work, which is fine because it's county roads, it's totally legal, and I got my right rear tire on my razor started going flat. Jeez. And then my golf cart was broken, and as you know, we had a bunch of people here this weekend to work, and one of those kids broke my freaking golf cart. But I'm just like, thing after thing after thing. I'm like, why and why is it the same tire? Why in like one day? Like, it doesn't make sense. It's just so weird. Irony.
Sounds like some freaking gremlins going on there. And it's funny, it's the
right?
same tire.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, in the same day, same tire, and then also the golf cart's messed up, and I'm just like, just in total gremlins, total fey activity or something. I don't know. I think the universe is trying to get me to slow down right now, and so like all these synchronicities keep happening, like chill out, but I don't have time to chill out. Like, I don't have that option at this moment. Hopefully I don't crash, metaphorically speaking.
Right.
When you work yourself too hard, when you're too much in the masculine energy, and you're not in the feminine receptive energy, and you're in the like the masculine motion energy, male or female. If you get too much in that action energy, it's going to force you to slow down. The universe, God, someone's going to say, hey, slow down, whether that's getting sick, getting injured, something forcing you to slow down. It's just weird how that happens. And I always, I tell Ross and everybody else, I'm like, if you keep going and going and going and don't even take like a little bit to yourself per day, I know you think you're being efficient, but you're not. Either you're going to start making a bunch of mistakes because you're going and going and going, or something big, catastrophic, you're going to hit a wall, you're going to get sick, you're going to get injured, or something's going to break down, because that's what always happens when you keep going and going and going. And don't, like, the old saying, like, think smarter, not harder, right? Or work smarter, not harder, right? So think, and think smarter, and don't work hard. Like, think before you take action type of thing. But so that's what's been going on with me. I think I've been a lot in that, like, action, motion, masculine energy, and it's, I don't know.
Yeah, and I feel been feeling the same way about you. I'm like, man, you're just working too hard. And I was super stoked to come in on Friday. I wanted to come in and help around the house and stuff, and then that stuff happened with Lily, so I felt really bad. I always feel like I'm letting people down. But I will be there this coming week.
You're never letting me down. Yeah, and you're never letting me down. I was like, she'll either be there or she won't. Either way, it's cool, because I wasn't there. And then I have the next 2 days off, so anything that I can't accomplish during the week, I can do that the next 2 days, which is amazing. So, no worries.
Very nice.
I appreciate you.
No worries. I appreciate you too. All right, so moving on to Mr. Jim Morris. Jim, how have things been going in the UK and with you?
Well, the UK is just the usual shambles. To get the people evacuated from Afghanistan, where they never should have been in the first place. The last flight is gone, and there's still thousands of people there. There's a charity group from the island who are there, and we don't know what happened to them. Haven't heard from them. We don't know whether they're safe or not. So it's the UK, we're not doing too good, I'm afraid. They keep telling us there's 8 million new COVID cases. Turns out, of course, it's that ERC test, the swab test. It's people that's just got a common cold that is logging them as having COVID. It's absolute nonsense.
Yeah, and the cold is a COVID thing, so it makes sense. But at the same time, it's not the same COVID.
No, it's not.
I don't know.
To see ferries. One of the ferries two of the ferries have broken down again, so there's going to be a lot of empty shelves over in the supermarkets. But I'm glad I stocked up anyway. So it's just it's going to be a really long, hard winter. I'm pretty certain that next year is going to be worse. They're talking about by December, when you go to the supermarket, you'll only be able to take 2 items at most, and even at that, it might only allow you to take 1 item.
Jeez.
So if you want 2 litres of milk, you're only going to get 1. A loaf of bread, can't take 2, you can only take 1. That's the way it's shaping up. And then when it does get back to normal, all the prices are bigging up. We're already seeing them beginning to increase anyway. So it's not looking good at all. I'm just going to try and see if I can send you these. It's a UFO case I've always been interested in.
Very nice.
It happened in Pascagoula, Mississippi in 1973.
Mm-hmm.
2 men were abducted, and they gave the story to the police, Sheriff Diamond, Captain Ryder, and they thought at first that it's just a hoax. So they left the two men alone, but Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker was the younger of the two. They didn't know the police had left the tape recorder running. So when you listen to the tape, and it's always a scared stiff. In fact, Captain Ryder said that, the boy was scared out of his mind. He says, and you cannot fake fear. And of course they volunteer for a lie detector test, the polygraph. They passed that. Dr. J. Allen Hynek and Dr. John Carter, they both interviewed the men. The stories were exactly the same. There was no embellishments to them. It really was pretty spooky. I'm just trying to see if I can find them. So I can let me see.
And while you're looking for
question.
that, go ahead, Mia.
Oh, I have a question because I saw a story in the UK. I'm sorry, it wasn't in the UK. It was in Australia where a man was it was in Australia, and I know that you're not in Australia, but I'm wondering if there's something that's happening there that's similar. He was taken out of his home, and he was allegedly held against his will on in like a psychiatric ward because he wouldn't get the vaccine or something like that. And then because they said he wasn't he wasn't mentally like stable or something like that. And he was like, they just came to my house, and because they found out I wouldn't take the vaccine, and they said my family said it, but I know that they didn't. They probably said that I wasn't going to take it, or maybe he said something online. I'm not sure, but I'm just wondering if that's going to be a common thing now.
Well, it seems to be the case anyway. It's going from bad to worse in Australia. There protesters were out against the lockdown, and the police laid into them with nightsticks and all sorts of things. It's that's Nazism. That's tyranny.
Mm-hmm.
That's
now isn't the UK aren't the royal government, aren't they mad right now at the US because of how we've handled this Afghanistan thing?
No, it's the people are mad at the idiot we've got as a prime minister who pulled people out of there in the first place, put them in the first place, and then took them back out again. So, no, we're not mad at the United States, but they are mad at, as I say, the British government leaving people in the lurch. And I say we don't know what's happened to them. There are going to be more of these attacks anyway. There's nothing surer. And there's no point.
I'm not going to make any predictions, but come September, I'm a little bit afraid for U.S. soil, considering September 11th and everything. But
right.
I don't know if they'd be that stupid, but I hope not, because they'd be burned up, they'd be gone. But let's hope not.
I posted two pictures on there, the creatures that abducted these guys. You'll see them in the chat on Skype.
Yeah, it's pretty creepy looking. What the crack is that? Like the crab guy from what is that cartoon? Oh, with Leela. Oh my gosh, I can't even think about it.
Futurama?
Yeah, Futurama.
I remember this case.
Yep.
I like Futurama.
Me too.
This case
This is a good one.
Sorry, go ahead, Jay.
I was just going to say, this case used to be in a lot of the old 80s UFO books when I was a kid. Same illustration.
Yeah, you see, the problem is that they never changed the story. They never embellished it any time they were given a UFO corner. It was exactly as they told the police and Hynek and Harder, the two doctors that were in there. And they were examined by a doctor who was present, and he said the men actually believe what happened. He says it's happened to them. They see no reason why they would lie. And then they got a radiation test at Keesler Air Force Base. They were very interested, the Air Force, and that's why they sent Hynek to investigate. And he said it's obvious that the two men were traumatized by whatever it was that happened. But that's it. The problem there is, I'll get the 3 books that's available written by the guys, these two men, Hickson and Parker. Where the incident took place, the shipyard built a lot of nuclear submarines for the US Navy, obviously, and anti-submarine warfare, frigates and destroyers. And they did carry out work for the Hughes Corporation and missiles and so on. And you begin to look at it and think, is this some sort of black ops? Because they use light and sound as weapons now. Light pulse at a very high frequency will put you more or less in a catatonic state. You can hear and see, but you can't move. And sound, infrasound, will do exactly the same thing, drain you completely of energy. So it's I'm just looking at, I see discrepancies. Calvin Parker, he was serious health issues. When he was diagnosed, they're going to pop your clogs soon, a couple of years. And that was when he went public, because he'd never spoken to anyone else about it, no the papers or anything else. He stayed right out of the limelight for 45, 46 years. But he got in, the co-author of the book for him was Philip Mantell, a UK researcher. And he brought in, what's his name? The guy who does all the hypnotic regressions, Bud Hopkins. And they hypnotized Hickson first. Hickson was the oldest. He was in his 40s. And there was nothing outstanding about it. He just repeated exactly under hypnosis exactly what had happened. But with Parker, he started to go into a bit of fantasy land, because he said one of the aliens looked very feminine, and he wanted to kill her, and he smacked her head against the wall and so on. Yeah, sort of black blood had come out her ears. And you say, I said, this is nonsense. This he's in hypnosis, and he's imagining that this is what he would do. Because the 3 alien beings just lifted them up off the ground and took them into the ship and put them on the table, floated them up onto the table. Hickson said a big eye came out of the ceiling, out of the wall, I beg your pardon, came out of the wall. Said it was about the size of a baseball, moved all around his head, and he said it was a physical examination. Then when it was done, it just went back into the wall again. Parker, he says it was a box came down from the ceiling, small green box, came down and took pictures of him or whatever it was doing. So there's discrepancies in that, what he was saying, but I don't think he attacked any alien, because if there was a green alien or whatever she was, it was there. These things would have protected and stopped him from doing anything like that. So I think I was just imagining that when he was under hypnosis. I don't think that actually happened. But the fact is, I've got you can listen to this. I've got the clip somewhere where they're being But they're left alone and they're talking about it amongst themselves. Let's see if I can find it. And
Okay.
you can hear it. You can hear it in their voices. That's
that true fear.
Yeah, you can. That's what the Captain Rider says. He says you can't fake fear. Susan, the boy, practically climbing up the wall.
Well, while you're looking for that, we haven't introduced Diecast J yet. Diecast J, he has a racetrack, and he refuses to drive the car's shiny side up. Welcome, Jay.
Right.
That's... You're what?
I said, yeah, right, with the ones racing lately.
Right? They're just flying off the track. But it's a lot of fun. I really love it. It's awesome. So, would you like to tell our listeners what's going on in your neck of the woods and, what you've been up to?
Just trying to live a regular life in this madness our world has turned into. I'm speechless. You want to talk about the paranormal? Well, look, read today's headlines. There you go.
Right.
Science fiction. It really is wacky. Although Melody did tell me the other day when I picked her up from school, we're on the way home, and she says, "Hey, Dad, I just saw something in the sky, but it wasn't a plane." I said, "Oh yeah?" She says, "I saw a fly, and then it stopped, and then it went up, and then it stopped." I said, "What it looked like?" She says, "It looked golden." She goes, "I think it was an angel."
Oh, wow.
I said, "Why do you think that?" She says, "Well, that's the feeling I got." I'm like, "All right, well, so that's what you think it was." But she said it looked like a golden rod, more or less, and then it would fly horizontal and then go up, fly vertical, and just hang there, and then go back the other way and go down. She's like, it wasn't flying like a UFO would. More like, she said, a guy with a jetpack. But it was way up there. I didn't see it because I was too busy driving, but she saw it. So that's the only interesting thing, I guess, out of Arizona, well, that I've seen. People always report of weird stuff out of Arizona. I just never see it. I don't. Other than the Phoenix Lights in 1997, no. I really, I have more paranormal happenings, I think, on the East Coast than out here. I mean, I had pretty anomalous things happen in Arizona, don't get me wrong, but more on the East Coast. I think it's because it's more old over there. You got older history, more spirits hanging out, if you will. I don't know. I don't know if it's more or less, but there's definitely, as you know, being investigating paranormal happenings, some places have higher activity than others. As you say, a portal could be open in one place. I believe portals exist. They're pretty much... I just want to talk about getting into portals real quick. Can we talk about one Bigfoot sighting? Because I was listening to a radio program the other day, flipping through YouTube, and they were talking about Bigfoot. And I wanted to tell my story, but I didn't, because I didn't think anybody would really believe it. And I've said it here before, my buddy Ridge, I saw the Bigfoot coming out of the woods when he was 12 and walked across his lawn, jump into he said the hole opened up in the ground, it was black, and the black Bigfoot jumped in. And after he jumped in, the hole closed back up and the ground kind of like faded back into existence. He said, I went and got my mom and said, I just saw a Bigfoot jump into a hole in the ground. And she said, you quit making shit up. He said, that wasn't made up, man. And
he's like, it's true, it's true.
See, over the 10 years I knew him before he died, we would walk over to that portal. He'd stand in that circle. He'd say, man, it was right here. He jumped in. I saw it with my own 2 eyes. And before the road got too busy that he lived on, because he lived on a major road, we used to walk across the street. He's like, these were the woods where all the townhouses are now. And he's like, he retraced the old Bigfoot steps with me. He's like, you walk this way, I was over there looking out the window in my front of my house. He jumps in. I mean, so, and this is a guy who, you know, he's blue collar. He works with his hands. You know, he's just total, not the UFO ghost. He doesn't. In his words, he even said, he goes, I don't have time for that shit. He goes, he's like, I can't even think about what is real. He's like, all I know is there's stuff happens on my property, and that's as far as I want to know. Because he told me about the shadow beings on his property. That's what he was talking about also on one of the videos I had. That he saw something on two legs running through his bushes and the trees between his neighbors. He said he'd be out there sometimes, you know, in the barrel fire, and he'd have the lights on in the shed, and it looks like somebody's standing in the back of the shed, like in the middle of it, where you can see a silhouette of somebody, but he knows there's nobody back there because, you know, he's just the only one out there doing whatever. So, you know, but I have a lot of orbs flying around the house. How's that? I'll give you that.
Yeah, they love the racetrack too. They're like, races!
well, ever since, you know, who showed up and left, that's all there seems to be around here, George.
Yeah, and I know there was some going on before, but I don't know if it's picked up or not. But yeah, there's definitely been some stuff going on around there. It's been pretty interesting. But yeah, I don't know if you noticed or not, but when you were talking, Mia, I don't know if you heard this or Jim, but I kept hearing a man's voice, fuzzy in the background, kind of when Jay was talking, somewhat agreeing with him and saying different stuff that I couldn't quite understand. Did you hear that at all?
I didn't hear anything, no.
I didn't hear anything. That's really weird.
I didn't, and it could have been on my end, but I was on mute most of the time, so that's odd.
Yeah, I kept hearing it. It was like a male's voice. It was fuzzy, and Jay would be saying something. He would say, yeah, yep, and different things like that. So that was interesting.
No, during that time, I was on mute when he was talking. That's odd.
Yeah, it was definitely a male's voice.
It,
I don't know if it was your friend you were just talking about, but somebody over there was agreeing with you, kind of collaborating with what you were saying.
That's very odd. I have my suspicions of what that is, but I will remain silent right now on that.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's anything paranormal. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nope. And I'm not hearing anything now, but I was before. Yeah. That was interesting.
Well, if you do, let me know, and just keep in mind, I'm not going to say anything. Please don't make guesses at what it is. If you think you know what it is, we'll talk about it in private. It's that I'm trying to.
Just heard it again.
Yeah. What happened? What'd they say?
I couldn't hear it. It's a male voice, and it's a lower tone, and it's fuzzy, like it's coming through distorted.
Okay. I heard something, but I can't go so far as to say it was a voice.
Pretty interesting. Did you find that clip, Jim?
Yeah, here it is. I'm going to play it. See if you can pick it up. You'll be able to listen to it yourself.
Okay.
Let's hope it's loud enough.
Yeah, and Dolly just said she heard something too. So if we're not hearing anything, is it playing right now?
Yeah. Hang on, I've got to get my blockers on.
Okay. Yeah, definitely go back, and that'll be before the 30-minute mark as far as the show goes, Jay. So if you want to go back after we're done with the show or whatnot and listen to it, you should be able to. But yeah, it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, let's see. Right. We'll try it again.
Okay. Take two.
Take two.
Clack. I heard a chime.
Yeah, that's my clock. Oh, no. Mine isn't working. I don't know if it'll work for you, but...
I'm trying to get it to work on my end.
Yeah. It's not working here anyway.
That's odd.
Yeah, it's having trouble loading, but I'm trying to get it.
Okay. Yeah, that chime that was like a bell, Dolly, he said was his clock. But yeah, that voice was interesting. Definitely male voice, and it just sounds distorted.
Well, let's keep talking, and as soon as I get this, we'll go back to it.
Okay.
If need be, I'll get another device, but I don't think that's the issue. The thing is, my phone, every time you tap it, it'll restart because I need a new phone. I tried to call it 150 times. It's probably still work.
Did you send it to the chat, Jim?
Yeah.
Okay, let me see if I can pull it up and put it here under the microphone. Loading. It's doing the swirly gigger. Two fishermen behind one of the craziest alien encounters ever. Worse. Yeah, I couldn't read that. It was too fast. So it's
Yeah, when he brought you out of that damn thing, and when he brought me out, well, I like to know where the hell you were. God damn, I like to know where the hell got you straightened out, man. I didn't know it, I remember my heart, I just froze out just like that. I couldn't move it, just like a step on a damn rattlesnake. They didn't do me that way, though, they... I passed out. That's the first time I ever passed out in my life.
The incident took place on October 1973 on the banks of... Oh, I couldn't see. It's going too fast. And I'm trying to read it upside down. Nice.
Want me play some of that if the audio is much clean?
Yes. Yeah, that was kind of fuzzy. I could still hear what they were saying, but yeah, definitely. Poor guys. He's like, I don't drink. They're gonna try to say this and this, that. Man. That's interesting.
Let me try to play mine.
Last October in the quiet Mississippi town of Pascagoula, two local men confronted authorities with a rather bizarre story. Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker told of a strange craft landing near their fishing site and of being taken aboard by three unearthly creatures. The two men were questioned under hypnosis and lie detectors, but their story remained intact. One of the men suffered a nervous breakdown and is still under treatment. Among the skeptics were Ralph and Judy Blum, already at work on a UFO book. With W5 last week, Ralph and Judy returned to Pascagoula.
Judy and I stumbled into this book. It came to us to be written. Suddenly we were in a wave of waves. UFOs were being seen across the country again. We were in what they call a flap. And people began experiencing things that they couldn't explain. Something was happening in our skies in the midst of Watergate, Agnew, the energy crisis, the Middle East. Something was happening and people couldn't understand what it was. We spoke about UFOs, but nobody really knew. And then it hit right here where we are, in Pascagoula. Something happened October of 73 that would go down in history. The spaceship came with many blue lights, sat down near them in the night. Three little men came out and took them inside. They looked him over with one big eye. They say what they saw was real. They know they were the one that saw the Pascagoula UFO. We were sitting on the other side of the pier with our feet, over toward the river, fishing in the river. And the fish biting, so I told Calvin, I said, well, we might as well go home. But I guess that's the first one I heard. It was some kind of zipping sound. And when I turned around, in this area here, 40 feet up, it was some kind of crab, it was down, it was about a foot and a half, or 2 feet off of the ground. We didn't know what, like the river behind us, and that out there not knowing what it was. So, and then before we had time to do anything, it seemed like we opened the pier, and toward the end it was, us. And the blue light, it had blue flashing lights as it was, approaching the ground, but then they went out, and when the opening appeared, some source of light came from the inside. It was just almost blinding. Can you tell me just what happened that night? No, sure I can. All I can tell you is it was two men. Excited, said, want to climb the walls. It's terrible, crying.
That's Sheriff Diamond.
What happened? As far as we see it, what happened, I don't know. Of course, we could see them in the opening coming from, when it started out the craft. But I couldn't tell. People coming out at first? Well, they had. I kind of thought it was people at first, off like that. But of course, when they appeared there in front of me, it was the most shock I've ever had in my life. What did you see? Well, they were shorter than, I'd say, about 5'2" or 3", and they didn't have a neck. Their head, it seemed to come directly to their shoulders, and they had something that not to a point about where a nose would be, and on each side the ears. In fact, they were a little longer on the ears than the nose, but still point. Yeah.
Since I was a physician and several other scientists and investigators were asked to consult and look into the situation, I was asked if would I mind if I would be present, and I said I wouldn't mind at all. And while it is still very difficult for us to believe that a spaceship landed and that robot-type creatures came out and actually took these two people into the spaceship, these men, in my opinion, believed that they saw it, that they were being honest in reporting what they have reported.
But it seemed to me when it came out, that doorway, or that opening, whatever it was, then just almost instantly they were right there on us. And their arms, they had arms. I saw the arms moving here and in the shoulders, but they had weld. I mean, their fingers were weld, and then they had something like a thumb, and they were like this. And length. And then we left the room and recorded every all the conversation they had. Recorded between the two of them. And one of them kept wanting to pray. He said, after all I went through on this earth, I said, why should I have to see something like this? Just like that.
Hold on, let me
receive up to
fix this. Here.
Mark, I was questioning him, and at one time he wanted to climb the wall. That's how nervous, how shook up he was.
They had me one on this arm like this, and on the other one, they had my other arm like that. And I just seemed to lift up to the same height they were off the ground, and we just moved into the craft.
Now inside, how did they lay you out? Do you remember how it happened?
Yes. I didn't see any tables or chairs or anything in there. I'm not saying it wasn't there because the light was almost blinding, but I didn't see any. And when they carried me inside, they seemed to just lean me back, And this eye, I keep referring to it as an eye, and it moved up in front of me about this close, and it started right at my eyes, looking me right in the eye. And it seemed that it hesitated there for a few seconds, and it just started moving over my entire body. When they brought me from the craft, that only say here, and they didn't drop me, they just pushed me back to the ground. I fell, I don't know why it was the fright or what it was, but I fell onto the ground. That's when I pulled out. Standing facing the river with his arms outstretched like that, just like he was carrying something. Tell me about the lie detector test.
Well, so that was run by Pilkington. Is it Pilkington? Pennington. They run this type of test about 6 times a day. And when they were asked to come over here to talk to these people, they had in their mind that it was just a big joke. If I understand it correctly, they ran one test on Mr. Dixon. The machine showed that he was telling the truth. Then they run another one. Then the examiner, he began to wonder himself. So, ran the third test, and he believed just what Mr. Dixon had told him.
Mr. Booth, tell me what happened that night in October.
Well, I got up, I turned off the TV and come to the front door, which you could see right behind me. Just as usual, checking to see if it was locked. So I looked out the window at the top, and naturally I saw this object above the street light out there. So, as it caught my eye with the lights was on, I couldn't hear any racket or anything. So I opened the door after a few seconds to step out to see if I could really tell what it was, and it just took off.
Can you describe it?
Well, it was round, had lights all the way around it, turning in a counter-clockwise motion. Had a dome on top with a bright light shining out through the top of it. To tell the actual figure of it or anything, you couldn't tell. You could just see the lights and the one on top.
When it happened to Charlie, the creatures, whatever they were, didn't communicate with him. Now, it's enough to say you saw a UFO to give you trouble these days in towns. To be taken aboard is that idea. But somehow, if the creatures don't give you a message, you're just a touch less incredible. And Charlie says what he said, what we wrote about in the book. It was like they had a job to do, and they came and they did it.
I think there has to be a reason why Calvin was picked.
Maybe because you could take it.
Well, it might be. I don't know. I think that they know more what's going on down here on this earth than we think. And they might say looking for somebody that could say, hold up under the strain. and convince people that there is another world and there's some kind of life in that world. You're the one that's all about.
That's pretty much it. It's CTV News had the clip of that, but I thought I'd play the whole thing for not many here get to hear the original eyewitnesses, But
Yeah, for sure. Not making light of it or anything, but when the cricket was going off, it was like, it happened to me too. You should have seen what they did.
I think the Allagash incident as well, the guys camping in the canoe and the thing chasing them as they're went back to the shore, and the next thing they know, they're on the shore looking up and the UFO flying away. Yeah, that's on a whole Unsolved Mysteries of Robert Stack.
That's amazing. Zoidberg and crew came down, and it's weird, like they don't have eyes, and it was funny, like when I was looking at that drawing that they did and the whole description, and they basically had like not alien, but elephant sort of skin. If you look at it, it looks like it could be like really furry, but it's actually like elephant sort of skin, no eyes. And I was just picturing that movie from Disney, Flight of the Navigator, with the eyeball and stuff. And then when they said that, somebody said that an eyeball had come out and was checking him out and looking him over and everything. Like, I don't know. That's pretty interesting to me.
Well, it could have been an electric scanner that looked like, I know what you're talking about, probably something like that. Not too many people this generation know the movie Flight of the Navigator, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that was like one of the most awesome alien sort of movies for kids at the time for me. It was one of the original ones I saw as a kid. Pretty badass. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. Or show it to your kiddos or grandkids or whatnot. But yeah, that was a pretty awesome show. But I was just imagining something like that, or perhaps in their claw hand they could have had an eye. Like, how do they see or sense? And they were talking about, I think it was Jem who said they were using sound and light weapons, which we still use today. The whole Havana thing. What do they call it? Havana syndrome. And that is from directed energy weapons, and that has just recently been used again on the vice president, as well as people in Japan and people in Cuba as well. Those poor guys. And where were they? North Carolina, South Carolina, something like that?
Mississippi.
Mississippi. Nice.
Pascagoula, Mississippi. The thing is that the United States Air Force was obviously very interested in it. If they sent J. Allen Hynek and Dr. Harder to go and investigate it. Something happened there. Nick Redfern, UK researcher, he said it's a lot of activity going on using hallucinogenics. And both men were, Parker said that he was injected with something. And Hickson, he said they grabbed me by the left arm and I just sort of relaxed. So they might have injected him with something as well, whoever it was. But I don't know. I think it's some sort of black ops that they were doing. And then, of course, there's 48 years later, people turn up to say that they saw a UFO in the sky. And then this woman came forward and said that she and her husband were on the opposite side of the riverbank. And they saw this thing in the water. Couldn't make out its complete form, but it looked as if its legs were welded together. And it made its way back over to the other bank. So when you see that picture, that's what Hickson was saying. It looks as if their legs couldn't move. You know, they couldn't use their legs, they just floated. Very strange. But for me, the final thing was the polygraph test, and the doctor that was present, and Sheriff Diamond and Captain Ryder's response. Both men were traumatized, and the boy was scared out of his mind, trying to climb the walls. He said, "You cannot fake fear." And the skeptics, of course, they completely, when they're making some sort of criticism, they skip past the police report. They never mentioned what the police thought about it. So there's something definitely happened, whether it was a black ops or some they did from another dimension. But it happened anyway. Because Parker ended up having a nervous breakdown. And that cut the day.
And was Parker the younger one?
Yeah, he was only 19 at the time.
Oh, man. Poor guy. Yeah, you could tell, like, the older fellow was trying to keep him calm and agreeing with them and everything, and he just could not wrap his mind around it and was just totally blown away to the point where he is having a nervous breakdown over this. And just the thought of, people won't believe what he had seen, because I don't think even he believed what he saw, and just thinking about the different things they could say that he had been drinking or whatnot, and he's like, I never drank. But yeah, the older fellow was trying to keep him calm, trying to keep him grounded, and it didn't quite work out for him, poor guy. I wonder how long did they put him in a place or a psych ward or whatnot till he got over his mental break, or was he just in a hospital, do you know?
I was in a hospital in Jones County. I don't know how long for.
Dolly in the chat room is saying, I think definitely there's something to do with water in sites. Yeah, a lot of different sightings have been around water, and there are, what do they call them, USOs? Submergible objects.
Yeah, you had a lot of USOs off Shimmy Air Force Base, too. Chris used to watch them go and flying out of the water. Fly in the water, fly out of the water.
Yeah, and one of those Tic Tac videos also show one, like, going through the waves and everything and not even being slowed down or deterred. It just keeps going at the quick rate of speed that it was flying. It's pretty intriguing. We've had a lot of sightings around here. We don't have a lot of water, but we definitely have stuff going on around here. It's funny, me and Mia were going out trying to find something paranormal, and we actually saw a UFO or an AUP or whatever they want to call it. UAP? Is that what it is? Unidentified aerial phenomenon. Pretty intriguing. We're looking for ghosts, and we found a UFO. It was huge. It was the second largest one I'd ever seen, and it was... Go ahead.
I was just saying, and that weird, like, tree entity thing that I looked up online, and we'll get to that later. But yeah, that thing was the most clear, unidentified flying object that I've ever seen. It was close, it was clear, it was not anything but something unexplained. It couldn't have been a plane. There were no lights, no landing lights. And in the position that it was in, it would be, because the airport, that's where, when they're going to land, that sometimes that they're at, but it went in the opposite direction, and it wasn't a plane. There was no way.
No, it was, appeared to be a disc. You couldn't really see the disc shape. You could just see the line of lights along it. And it's funny, it kept that crooked stasis in the sky, and it just kept getting closer and closer. And I was thinking, as it was going above us, any second now there's going to be a beam of light or something happen. We're going to get sucked up into this thing, and who knows what's going to happen. But it was pretty interesting. We never did get abducted. Yeah, we're like, wait, take us with you. I
I had my thumbs up. I was like, please, like, take me with you.
Right. Well, on that note, we're going to go to our first musical break. On this break, we have King Cinnamon from Biafra, Nigeria, with Al Imo Elderella, as well as Fantastique. And then we have Hosni Bronx, who is from Jamaica, as well as the Bronx of New York. He kind of goes back and forth with Dance as a Lion. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this musical break.
We stop on the
Kanyi kele Chineke makwa na limo mbunde njemono. Kanyi kele onye wuwa imakwa na limo mbunde njemono. Alimo, Alime Gerelo, Alimo, Alime Gerelo, Alimo State, Alime Gerelo, Alimo, Alime Gerelo, Alimo State, Alime Gerelo, Alimo, Alime Gerelo, Democracy Gerelo, Ndime Gerelo, Alimo, Alime Gerelo, Alimo, Alime Gerelo, Alimo State, Alime Gerelo, Alimo, Alime Gerelo, Democracy Gerelo. Ndi me meriela Emeka marama Ebere marama Ofa no marama Yes lady marama Her Excellency Emeka hidio hama Emeka hidio hama Omenka unanya hidio hama Omenka unanya wa Emeka Meki modima Emeka Meki modima Emeka puta no boy, oh yeah. Wa wulenu. Emeka puta no boy. O come adima. We me wen boso. Emeka Meki modima. Emeka Meki modima. Ndem jejemba. Mwan jejemba. Ndem jemano. Deputy Governor State Chilike. Gerard Ronna Ikaraka. Wokomadima Porabo Deputy Governor Wele Deregema Alukuta Deregema Alimo State Deregema Ala Nigeria Maragema Onye Jemonu Stanley Wamuche Karaka Onye Babamba President Good Life Foundation Shirike President General Senate Group of Companies President General Financial Matter Karaka Alo were diregema Alambise diregema Alimo State diregema Ala Nigeria maragema Onye Jemano Franklin Neji Shirike Meme Arabido Hotels ABC Transport Karaka Alo were diregema Alambise diregema Alimo State diregema Ala Nigeria maragema Uchonya go chande Uchonya go chande Honorable Mokomadima Onye huru ni akeleni yao Mawugiye Ginando tugio Mawunule Mjijigari jinala Imo State yo Mawugiye Ginando tugio Mawunule Minigari zonala Imo State yo Alo were deregema Alo were deregema Alimo State deregema Ala Nigeria maragema The chairman Orange Drugs Limited Jisa Anthony Ifani Chukundu Business na Ishirike Ikenga Dichele Pride of his people Most outstanding one Okoma Marama Iborabo Alo were diregema Alijato diregema Alimo State diregema Ala Nigeria maragema Honorable Jogwagu Shirike Honorable Bina Shirike Jere Labosa Shirike Tochukwu Kereke Shirike Okahube Shirike Injina Benin Shirike Onyomana Construction Wokomadima Ikaraka Onye Shiwole Hebowarani Dejemu Imarama Wokomande Jemba Wokomadima Ikaraka Wins Popule Ibo Felamo Onyomana Pito Akana Kumpa Ikaraka Eziwa Mama Ejemba, CEO Lisa Ventures, Karaka, Democracy, Merielo, Ndime Merielo. Democracy, Merielo, Ndime Merielo, Alime Gerelo, Alime Gerelo. Thank God I'm from Imo State. Emeka has come to rejuvenate. Imo State, make you jubilate, make you celebrate. Emeka she when be say, this one no be say them say. Emeka has come to rejuvenate. Imo State, celebrate, make you jubilate. Ala mekele His Excellency Achikudenwa. Mekele kwa His Excellency Dr. Hakim. Yemaka Right Honorable P.D.K. Nekelekwa Right Honorable Jones Oyereri. Ala mekele Senator Onyebuchi Mr. Empowerment. Nekelekwa Right Honorable Emeka Chinedu. Umo mimo lowali bia meziena alimo. Alima Adilama.
Cliffito.
Why Babylon, you want
We swap on the beat.
She like my water bam bam. King Cinnamon. Oh shit, baddest. Take your bam bam anywhere you day. Know your bam bam, it is a Friday. Come on, let's go, it is a holiday. Anything you want, baby, I will pay. Take your bam bam anywhere you day. Know your bam bam, it is a Friday. Come on, let's go, it is a holiday. Anything you want, baby, I will pay. Fantastic. Baby girl, you romantic. Fantastic. Baby girl, you romantic. Gucci brother, baby, gather something. Come on closer, baby, gather 19. I know you better, but I am the king. Your backside bigger than Bombay. Baby girl, broncotum. I like the way you want your broncotum. Baby girl, broncotum. I like the way you want your broncotum. Jamaica, Ghana, shout out to the ladies in Asia, Nigeria, South Africa. Say me love you. Please me, baby. Yeah. Turn up from you. Take your bam bam anywhere you day. Know your bam bam, it is a Friday. Come on, let's go, it is a holiday. Anything you want, baby, I will pay. Take your bam bam anywhere you day. Know your bam bam, it is a Friday. Come on, let's go, it is a holiday. Anything you want, baby, I will pay. Fantastic. Baby girl, you romantic. Give me love. Me want you, me love you. Give me love. Oh, give me love. Hey, please me, baby. Oh. Yeah, turn up from you. Yeah, take your bam bam anywhere you day. Know your bam bam, it is a Friday. Come on, let's go, it is a holiday. Anything you want, baby, I will pay. Shake your bam bam anywhere you day. Know your bam bam, it is a Friday. Come on, let's go, it is a holiday. Anything you want, baby, I will pay. Fantastic. Baby girl, you romantic. Fantastic. Baby girl, you romantic.
Welcome back, and thanks so much for joining us tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. Tonight we are joined by Mr. Jim Morris from Scotland, Miss Mea Savage from the Durango area, as well as Diecast J from the Phoenix area. Welcome back, guys, and thanks so much for hanging out with us tonight.
No problem. Glad to be here.
Okay, so you just sent another one. Is that another one that you wanted me to play about this last case we were talking about?
Yeah, but you can play it on your own if it's I don't know. It's very interesting anyway. That's with J. Allen Hynek and Dr. Harder are interrogating the two men, interviewing them. So you play it if you like.
Probably 4:30, I think. We were working 9 hours a day. I came home and to get my fishing gear, and we wouldn't go out in a boat because we were going to the banks of the river and fish from the banks for speckled trout and redfish. So we got out there and tried several spots, and it become dark by that time. We do quite a bit of fishing after dark, down here attracted my attention where I had reached around and get more bait, which was sitting behind us, or I heard some kind of zipping-like sound, like a steam or something escaping from a pipe. And as I turned around, I saw some two blue flashing lights, or either pulsating lights, I'm not sure. And it seemed like it was some type of craft, and it seemed like it was almost down to the ground then. In fact, it seemed to be about a couple of feet, above the ground. It just hovered there. So Calvin had turned by this time, and he was looking at it too. And really, I didn't know what to do. I was just spellbound there for a few minutes, and then almost immediately, some type of opening appeared in the end that was toward us, with what I assumed to be the front end. And the light that had come outside, it was real bright light. And three things appeared in the doorway of the craft, and they seemed to just glide out of the craft. They never touched the ground. They seemed to just glide across. It must have been 25 or 30 feet from us, or maybe a little further than that. And they came to us, just glided over to us, and two of them took me by the arms from the side, and one took hold of Calvin, and I seen Calvin go limp, and I didn't know it then, but he had fainted. So they carried me inside the craft, and the light was almost blinding inside. In fact, for about 3 or 4 days, I had something like a bad welding flash in my eyes. And I can't recall, or I can't remember just what was on the inside, simply because the light was so bright that I just couldn't make out what it was. But I didn't see any tables or chairs, and the room seemed to be round. Of course, that could have been because the light seemed to be glowing from the walls and the overhead and the ceiling. But they carried me, I guess, about the middle of the room, and we would just seem to be suspended there. I couldn't move. I didn't have any feelings, no sensation of any feel. And it seemed something like a big eye. I keep referring to it as an eye because it was about size for a small baseball. In the end, it was focused toward me, was a different color or a different light. And it seemed to come directly out from the wall, and it came within 6 or 8 inches of my face, and it remained there for a few minutes, and then very few minutes, and then it went over my entire body. I'm assuming it did, because when it went down like this, I seemed to be suspended there, and the next time I seen it, it was coming back up over this way. So I assumed that it went over my entire body. But it came back in front of my face and stayed there for a few more minutes, and then it seemed to just go right back into the wall. And these things, the way they were holding me, I was elevated, because they weren't as tall as me, and they were upright, and I was elevated like this, and I could move my eyes, only thing I could move. And I could see that they had released me. And I don't know where they went, whether they went outside the craft or another room or compartment, but they didn't come in front of me. And they left me that way for a few minutes, I don't know how long. And then after a while, I seen them then when they come back to the side of me and took hold of me again, and they carried me back outside the craft, and we were still just gliding. I wasn't touching anything that I know of. And they seemed to just glide back out to where they had taken me from and put me back down on the ground. Well, when they did, I fell because my legs were weak and they gave way on me. And it was this time that I seen Calvin again. He was standing there. He was standing facing the river with his arms outstretched, and he was almost in shock. He seemed to appear to me at that time something was wrong with him. But so I was trying to make my way toward him, and I was crawling. I couldn't get my legs to working. But before I got to him, the strength of whatever it was came back to my legs, and I was getting up on my feet, and I heard the same sound I'd heard before, a zipping sound. And I glanced around, and I saw the blue flashing lights, and the craft was just gone, just almost instantly. And I made it to Calvin, and I shook him, and was calling to him, and it took me several minutes to get him where I could even talk to him, with any sense, and he was going in shock. And these things that came out of the craft, they were about 5 or 5'4" tall, and they didn't have a neck. The head seemed to come directly to the shoulders, and they had something that resembled a nose on a face, and about where ears would be was something that was similar to the nose, only it was a little longer. It seemed to come out almost to a point. And under the nose, there was something like a slit for a mouth, and it was very wrinkled. And it appeared to me to be something like an elephant skin, but I don't know where it was a metal or what it was. But it seemed to be very wrinkles, with the wrinkles running horizontal. And in the area where the eyes should have been, it was so wrinkled that I'm not even sure there was eyes. I can't recall whether there was any eyes not in. Calvin says he can't. But anyway, after I got Calvin where I could talk to him, we didn't know what to do, and we were almost scared to death. And we first decided we wouldn't tell anyone, but the more we talked about it, the more we realized that we had to tell somebody. It was the military authorities, if nobody else. So we called Keesler Air Force Base, which is only about 30 miles south of here. And I talked to someone there, and they told me that the Air Force didn't handle those things anymore, that we would have to go through our sheriff's department. Well, then we hesitated again because, you go to the people, just something like that is not supposed to happen, and when you would probably be laughed at and ridiculed. But we talked it over again and decided we would call the sheriff's department, and Sheriff Fred Diamond told us to come on over there, that we'd talk about it. So we stayed there for several hours talking with them and them questioning us. And the sheriff promised me that it wouldn't any news media know anything about it, that he would try to get it to the proper authorities, if he could find out who the proper authorities was, and have it investigated. So we went home that morning, and it was morning because they had kept us there quite late, and with assurance that it wouldn't be any publicity about it at all. Well, we went on to work that morning, and by 7 or 8 o'clock, there was telephones ringing, all over the shipyard. And I called Fred Diamond, and he said that he don't know how the story leaked out from the sheriff's department, but, that by that time the whole world knew about it.
You said something that was like an eye ran up and down your body. Do you think it was like examining you?
Yes, it had to be some type of examination. Well, I say had to be. It appears to me that it would be. And after talking with a lot of scientists, and I'm convinced that it was something that was some type of examination that it did me.
Did you communicate with these creatures, these things?
No, and the only sound that they made, they didn't attempt to communicate with me. The only sound that they made, one of them, and I'm not even sure that it come from one of the things, but it was some kind of mumbling-like sound, a low mumbling sound from one of them. But other than that, they tried to communicate. I tried to board the craft, but I think now, and I have reasons to believe, many different reasons to believe, these things were robots. They weren't beings. They were being controlled by beings from somewhere else.
What makes you think that's so?
Well, as I just mentioned, several reasons. I didn't see any movement of breath in the chest area. I didn't see any movement of breath in the slit of the mouth area. It didn't move. And when they move, they seem to move as something mechanically. They could move their arms like this and in their shoulders, but their head didn't move. And when they moved, they seemed to turn as if mechanically. It appeared to me that they had something that they were programmed, you might say, to do something. They had something specific to do, and they just simply done it, and their attention wasn't distracted one way or the other.
Did their examination of you hurt you?
No. The only physical pain that I had is when they took hold of me there on the banks of the river. The one that took hold of my left arm, and this arm here, just instantly I felt pain, but it was gone just that quick. And then once aboard the craft, at one time, I felt the same pain in the same area again, but it was just instantly. And that's the only physical pain that I had through the entire thing.
Now, approximately how long do you figure you were in the craft itself?
Well, I'm not sure, because I don't wear a watch. A watch won't keep time on me. And Calvin didn't have a watch. And we've tried to go back, and I've tried to go back and try to figure the time out from the time that we left the area going to call it Keesler Air Force Base and all. And it could have possibly been as long as well, it could have been anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, and probably even longer than that.
Can you give us some idea of the size of this craft that you were standing within?
Well, the craft, let me explain now. The angle that I was looking toward the craft, it's hard for me to say, which I can't say, whether the craft was round like a disc or whether it was long or oblong like a cigar. Because it was, let me give you an example. Like the craft was sitting here. We're assuming that this is the front end of it. That was the end. It was toward us. But I'm looking at it from this angle. So all I can see is what is this side and what I'm assuming to be the front, and maybe it's a little bit of the back. So I can't be sure whether the craft was round like a disc or was long or oblong. But it appeared to me that it was about 30 or 40 foot long and maybe 8 or 10 foot high. Just before where the opening appeared, there seemed to be two small windows up toward the front and the top, two small windows, and directly behind the windows was the revolving or the pulsating blue light.
Now, you said you attempted to talk to these creatures. Could you not talk? Could your vocal cords not work?
Well, that's hard to explain. I know I was saying something, but for some strange reason I couldn't hear myself. You know, you can hear yourself talk, but I know I was either saying something or trying to say something, but I didn't hear myself talking.
Now, when they brought you back outside, they deposited you on the bank where you were fishing before with your friend.
That's right, almost the exact spot, yes.
What kind of shape was he in?
He seemed to be, when I seen him, he seemed to be going in shock. I've seen many men in shock in the Korean War. And he seemed to be going in shock. Because it took me several minutes to even get in where I could talk to him to make any sense.
So once the craft deposited you and Calvin back on the bank without any further ado, it just departed?
It departed, that's right, it departed.
Now, you said you went to the authorities. Did the Air Force at that time cite any radar sightings in that area at that time? Unusual sightings?
Well, I'm not sure because the Air Force won't talk about those things. They didn't even want to talk, they didn't want to talk with us about it. The only connection that we had, you might say, with the Air Force is the next day it dawned on me that we might have been contaminated with radiation or something. So we were at the Sheriff's Department, and I asked the Sheriff if we could be examined for radiation because I was quite worried. I've been with my family. I've been in contact with many people. So Detective Huntley that called Keithler Air Force Base, and they said, yes, they would check us for radiation. So they carried us out there, and they checked us. They swabbed our shoes, our clothing, and under our fingernails and all, and they put it, in little tubes, and I don't know what happened to it. But they said there wasn't any sign of radiation, and at that time, we asked to talk with the intelligence at Keithler Air Force Base, which that was granted to us, and we went in a conference room with a bunch of colonels, and of course, Detective Huntley was there, and we told them what happened to us, and they seemed very interested, and they told us that a report would follow, which never did. So the Air Force, I think they just keep hands off and things like that.
Kind of brushed it under the rug.
For some strange reason, yes.
Have you been examined by any psychiatrist or put under any hypnotic trance to relate your story?
Yes, this happened on Thursday night. On Saturday morning, Dr. Alan Heineck from Northwestern University and Dr. James Harder from the University from Berkeley, they came to Pascagoula, and they questioned Calvin and me in length, and we were placed under hypnotism with a local psychiatrist present, along with a medical doctor present, and Dr. Heineck and Dr. Harder. Yes, we was hypnotized and questioned.
What was the result of that?
Dr. Harder and Dr. Heineck were convinced that it actually happened to us. And then I might add that we asked the sheriff that night because after we decided to tell the sheriff, certainly we wanted to prove to him that it did happen. So we asked for a lie detector test. They
polygraph test here in Pascagoula, which proved that I was telling the truth. Were you afraid during this entire thing? I certainly was, and I can explain that. Normal, what I consider normal fear today is something that you expect, just normal fear is something that you expect here on this earth. But this was something that wasn't supposed to even exist, and it's fear that you can't even explain. And shortly afterward, for a few months, I couldn't sleep, and I couldn't eat. It was on my mind all the time. But the fear's all gone now, and it's just not as much fear as it was before.
I'm pretty sure that's it. Yeah, very interesting.
I thought I
for
lost connection there for a second.
Uh-oh. You're like, oh no,
I don't
there's
know
silence.
why. Electronics, it's like we're not in a Mercury retrograde, but like things have just been like weirding out on me today.
Well, it's been funny, and I mentioned this before, not only for us having Wi-Fi or internet or other issues, different things crashing, so on and so forth, even major news outlets have been having different crazy things happening with their connection and internet and such, so it's been pretty interesting to say the least. I don't know what's happening, I don't know if it's solar flares or what, but something's happening.
There's a lot of weird energy in the air, like, again, there always is, but I think we had a little bit of a lull for like a few weeks, and then like we'll say the last few days, it's just been like weird. Weird. I've been feeling weird, just everything's weird. I got this vision today, and it was really weird, and going back to the audio, like it totally got me thinking about that. I don't know if there's any correlation, but it was like I was just working and minding my business, and I've been getting all these really cool visions lately, and I'm like, okay, so what am I seeing? Like, am I getting like now? I just started a few weeks ago, like am I seeing the future, or am I getting like just weird flashes of things going on in the world? And I got one today, and it was like Transformers, kind of like the movie.
Oh wow.
Kind of like, and it was like these giant like robot creatures, like they were like roaming the earth, and I'm like, well, I certainly freaking hope that that's not a future vision, because that would really suck, unless they're nice. It was so weird. And then he started saying that like these entities had like these robots that were I don't know, doing their work for them or whatever, and it just got me. I just remember that today, and I kind of like blocked it out like I always do. I'm like, no, we're not going there. Not now, no. But yeah, interesting.
Very much so. And Sandra in the chat room just said Uranus in retrograde, and I actually went to work last week when I still had that job, and I was like, guess what, everybody? Uranus is in retrograde. Better take care of that. But, I don't know, a lot of interesting things have been happening.
It's been retrograde for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not Uranus, but yes, the planet. Yes, I say Uranus now because I've noticed a lot of astrologers will say Uranus, and that makes me feel more comfortable because the little 12-year-old boy in me always wants to like be like
giggle. I said Uranus.
Make Uranus jokes, but I won't.
I know that's where I was coming from when I said that at work. It's like, yeah, it's because Uranus is in retrograde. It's not my anus, it's Uranus. But yeah, like you said, they call it Uranus, and I guess that does make you feel more comfortable.
Better.
Sandra said that
like my anus has been in retrograde for a while.
Right. But she was saying Uranus retrograde is going to be happening until January. So there you go. Oh my. And somebody asked me last night, what does that mean?
Could be have.
Yeah, somebody last night was
Uranus Aquarius.
Yeah. Somebody asked me what that meant, and I was like, I don't know. I'm not really into astrology. I just know it's happening.
Well, I know how it's affecting me, so I have a ton of. Okay, so your Uranus rules the sign of Aquarius, which is all about forward thinking, logic, kind of like technology and the future, and a lot of those types of things, right? And so I have my Mercury and my Moon, and I'm a cusp of Aquarius. So how it's been affecting me personally, that's when these stupid vision things started for me, because I think that there's a correlation between like psychic phenomenon and the sixth sense that we all have, or multiple senses that we all have, and also astrology, right? That would make a lot of sense, and that actually clears a lot up for me right now, because I've been getting these flashes, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, is this like psychosis? Is this like the end? Like, what's going on?
Sandra just said, it makes for a shitty week. I don't know, I feel like...
Already?
Yeah, I just feel like, compared to the other retrogrades that have been happening and everything, like you said, your dreams and visions and everything are... I don't know, it kind of feels like a place you just want to stay there. Like, I just want to sleep forever. And it's not because I'm tired, but for some reason I'm able to go back to sleep. And generally that doesn't happen. Like, I will fight to go to sleep. But yeah, it's been pretty interesting.
Well, like Mercury is in retrograde. It's the best time to like pull back and try to reorganize rather than impulsively doing things. But Uranus is all about impulsivity. It's like the air sign that I view as kind of like electricity, like a lightning bolt, like a flash of genius, or a flash of insight, or a flash of whatever it is. It could be anger. My moon's in Aquarius. I've had that happen a couple times, and I think with it being in retrograde, it's like I don't know. All I know how it's affecting me is I'm getting these weird flashes, and I'm hoping that they're not the future. I'm hoping that all of them are the future, except for the one I had today, where it was like these crazy transformer robots that were like, destructive. But I really, really, really hope that's not where we're headed. Otherwise, I'm just gonna like get abducted now, like hitch a ride back to space, get out of here.
Take me back to my home planet. Yeah, it's funny, because last weekend we actually lost Mr. Billhauser. Oh. I don't know how to pronounce this. Ageran. Adrian. I think it's Adrian. Anyways, he's like, wait, why are we talking anus now? Uranus, it's in retrograde. Don't you know? And like Sandra said, it's going to wait or last till I guess January. Back to the paranormal stuff. Yes, this is paranormal though. But yeah, the UFOs, it's been happening forever. And it seems like more and more and more are popping up. More and more people are having sightings. Like, even my kids are pointing out things. Jay said that his daughter was talking about seeing an angel. It looked, kind of like the Rocket Man or whatever, flying around. Basically looking like a human species flying around in the sky. They do have Rocket Man out in California. He went away for a little while, but then he came back, and so this guy with a rocket pack is totally interrupting airspace as far as travel for people on airplanes.
Like a literal guy with a rocket pack?
Mm-hmm.
Like a literal,
Rocket Man, yes.
I think I've seen something about that. Dude, Rocket Man. Can you imagine that being like your husband or your brother or something? Like, oh, he's at it again.
Mm-hmm. Hope you don't get bested. It's been pretty intriguing, but I don't know if you saw, I know you don't get on Facebook a lot, but I did share this post because last weekend when we lost Bill Hauser and he was going to do the Ghost Box Live, but then the night before we were supposed to go on, he let me know he wouldn't be there, and so I had to do story time. I know a lot of people are like, man, can we do something else? But, you know, I'd rather do that than replays. But there was this picture I posted, and it's a little chihuahua looking thing, and when you look at it, it looks like a goat thing, like some sort of goat species. Really strange. He wanted to talk about Goatman, so I shared that on both the Four Corners Paranormal as well as the We Are Paradox Media pages there on Facebook, because he wanted to talk about Goatman. So I'm pretty intrigued to hear about that and what exactly he wanted to talk about as far as that goes. But there's so many different things happening. Last weekend, for instance, the shadow people are back at it again. So my table, I'm sitting here laid back in my chair, I'm talking online, and all of a sudden my table just starts to topple over. And so I grab it, and all of the taller, heavy things fall off. All the things that are close to the, basically on the table, did not fall off. And I was like, okay, that's weird. That's never happened before unless I got up and, you know, accidentally knocked it over or whatever. And then I was reading an article on the after party, and all of a sudden I see this really skinny black arm with a hand sweeping under my door like it's trying to grab something. And I was like, what the frick is this? Like, what the hell? I told my sister this last night, and she's like, well, you know, she thinks that shadow people that are around her house are actually aliens and they're not actually shadow people, and that there's some relation to her or whatnot. But I think she's trusting too much that that could be the case. I don't know. I think there's ulterior motives.
Yeah, or like there's some weird kind of like portal thing because of, it could be also because of like Uranus or whatever. Like in the last 5 minutes I've seen 2 orbs, and then I don't necessarily see like shadow people, shadow figures. I mean, I've seen something similar to that, but what I get is these weird, they kind of look like oil spills, oil, I don't know, oil, like oil, but it's black, kind of like almost like a little black mirage thing. And I feel it generally before I see it. And I saw one of them and I was like, back, not today's state. And then it went away. But I, and this is just like in the last 10 minutes, and I've just kind of gotten, it actually, I'll get these weird things happen generally when I do this show, and not bad, just like weird little flicks of things, and I just kind of, like, I push it away, whether it's good or bad, because I don't know, and I don't want to deal with it, and so I kind of just like say, go away. And now I'm getting like weirdly drained. Okay, that's really weird. I hate when that happens.
Yeah, that is odd. And you know that's contagious, right?
No, I know. No, and you were at my house and that happened the other day. Like, there's been something kind of around, but it can't really penetrate because, like, something negative, because nothing's in my house generally. Anything that comes through is, like, temporary, or it's attached to someone. I'm almost wondering, because it started after we had people stay over that night, and I'm in the room that there was 2 people staying in, and I'm wondering if that has to be what it is. I gotta cleanse this freaking place. Okay. So weird. It's not entities necessarily, it's like residue. It's like residue, like when someone has a lot of negative energy around them, I see it as like a black cloud. And let's say they get near you, or they enter your home or whatever it is, I don't think it's always necessarily like one entity, even though they may have an attachment. They can leave like just like residue, like fingerprints of like this like darkness in their area. And that's why I hate sometimes going in public, because it's like all of that just like, and that's what, like, why introverts get drained sometimes in public is because I think it's just they're sensitive to that, and there's so much of that. I think we're all capable of like getting, like negative things attached to us, even if we're not negative people. Sometimes it attaches to us because we're positive, but it can also attach to us if we're negative as well. It's so weird how that works. Like you would think like, okay, so negative, if you're negative, then something attaches to you. But if you're positive, something attaches to you, and it's never black and white. Like we're all like in a shade of gray or rainbow or whatever. But it's just weird because if you're just around someone and they have that heavy energy, no matter what it is, it can rub off on you. It can rub off on the environment they're at. It can rub off on the freaking cracker section at Walmart. Like, I'm convinced.
Jim, Jay, anyone else want to chime in?
No, I don't know much about paranormal, but certainly there's the sunspot cycle, the new sunspot cycle has started, so you can expect an awful lot of solar flares. Whether they hit the Earth or not is a different thing. These are going to cause disruption to electronics, satellites, your Wi-Fi, GPS. As Jason saying, there's portals. Ivan T. Sanderson called them vortices, and he drew a map up of where the most UFOs sightings were seen, and it's scattered right across the equator. There's 2 rows of these vortices at different places, right across the whole globe. And that's what he said that the UFOs are coming in and out of. So it's obviously coming from another dimension, or a parallel universe, or where.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Like, where did this come from? Why is it all of a sudden happening on the sun? And for you to say that, that's very intriguing. I never really thought of it that way. I've thought of like black holes and other things like that to be that, especially after I saw the video of something, instead of being sucked into the black hole, was flying out of it, which goes against everything that we've known or believed in the past. So it's pretty intriguing how these things are popping up in different places. And as far as the internet goes, that is one of the possibilities I was thinking about. Like, is this solar flares, which a lot of times these will cause issues not only with satellites and internet, but your cell phones and, like you said, other electronics. It really does wreak havoc on there. Going back to the shadow people, Agaran was saying, now you're really creeping me out with the shadow people thing. I actually sleep outside now, and this stuff is creepy as hell because it's real. And it really is real. I don't know, generally they leave me alone, but they've actually... The first time I ever saw them was when I was 13, and I would run everywhere. So I'm running back home, the sun's already gone down, it's dark, and I kept hearing someone whispering my name, and I just always thought, it's my mom, she's calling me back home, and trying to make sure I'm going the right direction. And when I'd hear this voice whispering to me and whispering my name, I'd turn around and look, and I'd see these different shadow people popping in and out of the bushes that I was running along and stuff. And no, I was not on drugs or drinking or anything like that, but it was pretty intriguing, and they've just kind of been in and out. I don't know, it's pretty interesting what's going on, especially in the world today, and even in our own countries, like so many different crazy things. Dolly in the chat room says, so true, I believe it to be 100% with these portals and such. So it's making a lot of sense, because otherwise, what is it? What caused it? Pretty interesting.
No, you can't put it all down to misidentifications or secret military aircraft and so on. You can't put it all down to that. There has to be another source. And if they know what it is, they're certainly never going to tell us anyway. As Charles Hickson said in that interview that you played, he said, I just hope that you find out before it's too late. So we don't know what this, what's on its way. Everybody's wrapped up in this COVID. To me, it's like a major distraction from other things that are going on.
Mm-hmm.
Not just politically. It's a major distraction. So we'll see what happens. Next year, I think it's going to be worse. I got a feeling it's going to be much worse. Your food prices are already started to rise here. The supermarkets, an awful lot of empty shelves, and I asked one of the staff, I said, what happened to them? He said, no, we can't get them. I said, one of the biggest supermarkets in Britain and you can't get the stuff. He says, nobody can get it. It just ain't there anymore. So whether that's because they're coming from Europe and they've had a very bad harvest. Our harvest here has been poor as well in the UK. Fruit and vegetables, fruit in particular, they've lost over 40%.
Oh wow!
Because of the lockdown, and you need a COVID passport and all this. They relied heavily on migrant workers from Eastern Europe coming in, Romania and Poland and Ukraine, to pick the harvest. So they weren't there; they couldn't get here. So that's another thing that's you're going to go in and you're going to pick up usually I get a little bag of satsumas. I like them. Plenty of vitamin C in them. I'm going to notice that they're going to double in price.
And what are those again?
Satsumas, like little mandarin oranges.
Oh, okay.
No pips in them. So that's it's just looking bleak. So next trip over is to stock up on tinned vegetables. Not as much nutrition in them as unprocessed vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
But they're better than nothing. A tin's a mixed vegetable. Better if you have something where you have nothing.
For sure.
The fridge and the freezer can only hold so much, and they're packed full. So, I'm looking forward to it all. And gas is going to go up in price. Petrol and diesel, they're all going to climb in price as well.
Yeah, the gas has already started going up here, and I don't know. I've noticed driving through. I want to call it our neighborhood, but really it's just a road with 5 houses on it now. We used to have 4, but they built a new house last year that we have new neighbors there. But everybody is starting to grow their own vegetables and such. And we even have a little garden going on here with pumpkins, watermelons, cantaloupes, also tomatoes. I actually grew some, I call them pickles because they're pickle-sized cucumbers. They're specifically for canning pickles, and some dill. But yeah, everything's growing really good, and I'm super stoked about it. But next year I'm definitely going to have a bigger garden because, like you said, I don't feel like anything's really going to be getting better. I think things are going to be more sparse and harder to come by, and yeah, it's very scary.
Yep. Anyway, Tessa, it's coming up for 4 a.m. here, so I'm going to say night-night. We'll catch you some other time.
Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight, Jim. I was super stoked to have you, and thank you for sharing those videos. I mean, a lot of us, I had never seen that case, and so that to me was very intriguing and eye-opening. So thank you so much for coming and sharing that.
Yeah, no problem.
Good night, Jim.
Good night, Mia. Right, catch you later, guys. Take care.
Night-night. Love and light. Take care of my you. Yeah, it's getting crazy.
Love and light.
Love and light, baby. But with Jim over there... Go ahead, Jay. Okay. No, I was just saying, last year during COVID, both their ferries broke down. So many different things were happening, and now it's happening all over again when the whole COVID Delta variant is happening, and so it's just like insane what's going on over there.
Is that a Jones soda?
Sure is.
Those are good. I haven't had one of those in forever. I'm sorry. I was just like, whoa.
Wait a minute.
That sounds so good. Sugar water. I love it. But it's delicious.
Sugar water.
Delicious.
Sweet nectar
the
of
blue
life.
is the best, I think.
That's what she said. She just did, too.
They have green apple.
Yeah, she did.
Strawberry, watermelon. All sorts of fun jazz and stuff.
Is the blue like blue raspberry or what?
Berry lemonade soda.
Nice.
Like blue lemonade.
Very refreshing on a hot day.
I think we just need to kind of bring our energies up and bubbly and be lighthearted during this time, because you're right. I feel like I don't ever want to think the worst, but we all have. How come, is this all just like a collective level that we're all like tuning into, where we feel like now we need to be self-sustaining? Is that like is it a thought we're all picking up on, or is this like really what's going on? But in reality, I feel like that's where we should be anyway, to a degree. I mean, how can we rely on so much for our survival? Like, what would happen if those things were gone? If we had no Wi-Fi, if we had no grocery store? I think COVID kind of opened all our eyes into like what it would actually be like. I don't want to go so far as to say that that's where we're headed, because I really hope not.
Mm-hmm.
But we should all just do that anyway, and like you said, like that's your neighbors and everybody else, and that's where I'm at too. But I don't know how to grow anything except for cannabis, so and especially being from the desert, like we couldn't grow anything. I never learned how to grow anything. The only thing I knew how to grow were like indoor plants, and they failed most of the time.
Aww.
So I'm getting there.
Yeah, and Dolly in the chat room, I will help you garden. I will help you make one. Dolly in the chat room said, we have been sheep penned and we don't know how to survive ourselves. We should do farming from schools, and they do have the 4-H programs and such, but actually learning how to, take care of the ground, plant your things, and take care of them throughout. Potatoes and herbs.
Shouldn't that be step one in like human child care development? It should be like how to farm and how to take care of a pet and how to like cook and stuff like that. How come they don't teach like kids in elementary school? Like, that's such a good point. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, I've been trying to just do that at home with my kids. Like, okay, so we're going to prepare the dirt, then we're going to poke a hole in the dirt, we're going to put our seed in there, and then we're going to water every day till it sprouts, and then, we'll keep an eye on it. So we've been doing that here, but it's like when we were in school, it was home economics. Now we need to do something, like you said, like a farming thing, how to survive, how to can, how to do all these different things where we can be self-sufficient again, instead of depending on different corporations and truckers to bring us our food and so on and so forth. Like, we need to get back on our own 2 feet and be able to adapt and overcome and persevere over all the shit that is flying at our faces. But on that note, you guys, we do have to go to our second music break. On this break again, we have Mr. Hosni Bronx from Jamaica, as well as the Bronx of New York. He actually has some original Bob Marley and the Wailers folks in his band, so that's very interesting. He's going to be singing Free Child as well as Strong Life. And then we also have King Cinnamon once more from Biafra, Nigeria with Rosie. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this musical break.
Decided
yeah, it's funky on the beats.
Suck my boobs, you got my body loose. Anytime you talk me, you got me confused. Suck my boobs, you got my body loose. Anytime you talk me, you got me confused. Cinnamon, cinnamon, do it softly. I said you wine your body, eat the sweetie, sweetie. Make it rock my body, I am feeling horny. Make it touch my body, I am feeling sweetie. Suck my boobs, you got my body loose. Anytime you talk me, you got me confused. Suck my boobs, you got my body loose. Anytime you talk me, you got me confused. All my men, they wear out. All my guys, they wear out. Imarama, Imarama, Rosie. Imarama, Imarama, Rosie. All my men, they wear out. All my guys, they wear out. Imarama, Imarama, Rosie. Imarama, Imarama, Rosie. Mukomukeji, go bere muketa. Oya mukomukeji, oya bere muketa. Daddy mu ekon, omo ni pe mukeji. Daddy bere muketa, omo ni fumi lẹ́yìn. Daddy fisi, omo ni ejo. Daddy saucy, omo ni ejo. Daddy kosi, omo ni ejo. Daddy tohin kosi, omo ni ejo. Daddy and his baby, them there for corner. Daddy begin the touch and the girl the holla. Now daddy begin the open the shirt collar. Now something come up, daddy begin the suck up. Daddy mu ekon, omo ni pe mukeji. Daddy bere muketa, omo ni fumi lẹ́yìn. Daddy fisi, omo ni ejo. Daddy saucy, omo ni ejo. All my men they wear out. All my guys they wear out. Imarama, Imarama, Rosie. Imarama, Imarama, Rosie. All my men they wear out. All my guys they wear out. Imarama, Imarama, Rosie. Imarama, Imarama, Rosie. Suck my boobs, you got my body loose. Anytime you touch me, you got me confused. Suck my boobs, you got my body loose. Anytime you talk me, you got me confused. Cinnamon, do it softly. I said you wine your body, eat the sweetie, sweetie. Make it rock my body, I am feeling horny. Make it touch my body, I am feeling sweetie. Suck my boobs, you got my body loose. Anytime you talk me, you got me confused. Suck my boobs, you got my body loose. Anytime you talk me, you got me confused. Daddy I'm money, ejo. Daddy saucy, I'm money, ejo. Daddy kosi, I'm money, ejo. Daddy kahin kosi, I'm money, ejo. Daddy contact, I'm money, ejo. Daddy comfort, daddy consist, I'm money, ejo. Daddy can eat, daddy 120, I'm money, ejo. Daddy 18, daddy 240, I'm money, ejo. Daddy 360, daddy and the baby, them there for corner. Begin the touch and the girl the holla. Daddy begin the open the shirt collar. I come to come, daddy begin the sucker. Daddy mu eko, omo ni pe mukeji. Daddy bere muketa, omo ni fumi lẹ́yìn. Daddy fisi, omo ni ejo. Daddy saucy, omo ni ejo. All my men they wear out. All my guys they wear out. Imarama, Imarama, Imarama.
Oh yeah, it's funky on the beats.
Babylon to make you suffer. Babylon to make you suffer. Babylon to so strange, strange with my people. I don't like to fight, but if we are together, it will work. It will work. Whoa, whoa. Babylon no have no heart. 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 My people, you have to survive. Yeah, you must rebuild you and make your own way. You must not give up. The beginning of the revolt will start. We need to follow our true destiny. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah, 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 yeah. I don't know, whoa, why my people live this life. I don't know, whoa, why my people live this life. The obstacle we face, yeah, is Babylon. The world is a good place, yeah, for our freedom. You take everything, you don't breathe anything, yeah, yeah. Young life, all anti-dread. We must believe in a magical, powerful force that unite us, and not just these people stay speechless again. We don't want to talk, no, it's time to fight, yeah. We stop talking. Babylon make you suffer. 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 What the desire? Young life. We are ready to fight.
Welcome back, and thanks so much for joining us tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. Tonight we are joined by Diecast J as well as Miss Mea Savage. Welcome back, guys, and thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, tie-dye diecast Dave.
Tie-dye Diecast Dave?
That'd be fun. Tie-dye diecast Dave. Oh, God. Say that 5 times fast.
Diecast J. Are you going by Diecast J or Diecast Dave? I thought it was J.
That's fine, whatever. It's Jay. I'm not a Dave. Sleepy Dave. Maybe I should update the story about Sleepy Dave. For people who haven't heard. Not that anybody gives a flying frog's fat ass, but I'll say it anyway. I had a friend of mine, his name was Gino, and he was an author. He wrote many books. He wrote technical books, too. He was the guy that wrote your VCR manual. He was the guy that pissed people off. He wrote the VCR manuals in the 80s in textbooks and stuff. And he wrote, let me see some titles off the top. How to Care for Your Elderly Parents, I think was one title. The New Father's Panic book. How to Be Your Own Architect. How to Be Your Own Exterminator. So I met him in 2004 on when Yahoo chat rooms existed. For those of you who don't know what they were, Yahoo had this thing you could download, and they had all these different chat rooms. all different 50 states, and you could click on Arizona, and there'd be sub-rooms, rooms 1 through 50 or whatever. Then you could go to Germany, and then you could go to all the cities, Frankfurt, Berlin. Remember those days? You could go to talk to somebody in Taiwan if you wanted to. See, but in 2012, they ain't all that shit. They didn't want people communicating. Anyway, that's where I met him. And I got on the radio when internet radio first started, and back in those days, we could play anything we wanted. There was no regulation. And the general rule was us in the community who were running radio and wanted to make money, but we didn't want to, basically, we're non-profit. Everything was non-profit. As long as we weren't making money for the station, we were allowed to play commercial music. So I was playing everything. So along with this, we started experimenting. We wanted to bring back old-time good radio, you know, because by that time, in 2005, 2006, FM radio is horrid. It's always been horrid. It died around, you know, somewhere in the mid-90s, in my opinion. And it's even dead now. I'm amazed that the FM stations don't take the internet format and use it for FM. Meaning, I don't know, I always joke, you know, give me one day with a FM station, I'll have those freaking market share points up. But Sleepy Dave was a culmination of a skit we wrote about a guy who was always tired because I was always working midnights and working crazy shifts. So he always said that I was stoned, and I said, that's ironic, I didn't smoke weed then, so I'm always tired. So that's where it started. So Sleepy Dave owned a strip mall on a non-existent corner in Phoenix. And then we started fictionally adding businesses and writing comedic commercials. You know, some of it was, you know, underlying sexual innuendos. Some of it was outright, you know, like we had a character, well, these characters were made up by a gay guy I knew, named Johnny Rocket. Well, his real name, I can't say his real name, but that's what his radio name was. He used to be a DJ for Magic 107 in Phoenix back in the 90s. So he had these characters he made up, and he passed them off to me, and he named them Bobby Blowit and Susie Suckit. So we'd get online, and I would get on there, and I'd do these character voices, and people really thought I had all these, you know, people in the studio, per se, or wherever I was, you know, recording from, or broadcasting from. And at the time, I didn't know guys like Phil Hendry were doing the same thing. Phil Hendry, pretty much, minus all the rock and roll. He doesn't play rock and roll or any commercial music, but I was doing that. We were experimenting. So that's where it came. It had nothing to do with Joe Biden or being a Biden fan or a Democrat or anything political. It was strictly Sleepy Dave was always talked about by the DJ, but Sleepy Dave never appeared on the radio. You never heard him. You just heard about him and the sales he was running. I mean, at one skit we wrote, it was the waterless cat washer, where we started putting cats through on the conveyor belt.
Yes.
The conveyor belt started speeding up and spitting out cats on the conveyor belt. And one of the lines was, look at those pussies fly. And then, you know, and then Gino's like, I see a hairless one coming out right about now, you know, just shit like that. Just, you know, just goofy crap. But nowadays, people probably wouldn't get the humor. They're going to go, yeah, a bunch of immature kids on the radio. But it was fun while it lasted. You know, when you could play demos of songs or versions of songs that you never heard. I mean, it was great. Oh, man. I remember one time, because also you could also use the webcam in those days on Yahoo. And I had a listener message me He says, "Hey man, I'm on Sunset Strip in L.A. by the famous tattoo parlor." I'm like, "Yeah, whatever." He's like, "No, we're in the tattoo parlor. We're listening." So I turn on my webcam. He turns on his webcam and he points it towards the street. But back in those days, it was kind of grainy and the resolution wasn't great. So, but I recognized it because I had been there. I'm like, I said, "Don't lie to me. I've been in that tattoo shop on Sunset." And he was playing my show, and he said he was pointing to the speakers. He had the speakers pointed out on Sunset. So I thought that was kind of cool. You had people hanging around out on Sunset listening.
Hell yes, that's awesome.
These are stories that you really don't hear, I don't or ever hear. And it was harder to hold an audience back in those days to do internet radio because you didn't have every app in the world. You couldn't tune in on your phone. You couldn't tune in on X's Sirius Radio yet. It was beginning, but it wasn't. Maybe you could. Well, maybe not ARD. You couldn't stream ARD. You actually had to have the Shoutcast player or a real player. So you actually you were locked into your desktop. So when we would look at those numbers to see how many listeners we had, and when it would say 2,000, I had 2,000 people sitting at the computer at once. Now, today's numbers, that might be very small because of what we can do with broadband. But in 2005, you were locked onto your computer. You really couldn't move. If you wanted to listen, you had to stay put. So that was quite an achievement, for unknown radio people, for a couple of guys just messing around, on the station. But nowadays, like Spreaker and what else? With Spotify and whatever else streaming services, iHeartRadio, whatever they join with, Apple. I mean, how many are we on, Tessa? I don't. You when you say the list, you say it so fast. I can't keep up with.
Are you talking about the music?
No, I'm talking about just the platforms that we're on, because I was talking about the platforms that were used back in those days. See, those days you were locked into your computer because they had Shoutcast or Real Player, and you had to download it, and sometimes you had to copy and paste the link yourself. Nowadays, you just and go. We didn't have that back in 2005, 2006. So what I was saying is, when you right now could have 100,000 listeners really in reality and not know it.
Yeah, exactly, because we're so many places, yeah. So what I say is what the guy from KPNL, Mr. Steve Stockton, straight pimping guy, oh my God, he gets so many hits and so many followers and everything, but I was like, so how many people do we have following? Like this one certain person that is giving me authors is asking me, and he's like, just tell her 10,000 plus and growing. But like you said, we're on so many different platforms. How do you keep track of all that stuff?
I couldn't. Back in those days, it was like, I got my 2 encoders. Sometimes you had 4, because you had to have the encoders for the dial-up, and the encoders for the DSL, and the encoders for the high-speed internet. So then you had to individually keep your stream going. See, we had to run the stream. Just like kind of now with Spreaker and whatever else. But right now, with the way the software is set up, we don't copy and paste any encoder. We don't, I actually had found an old email of all the technical stuff that I had to do to get the stream going on. I think I used the SAM broadcaster back then, and pretty user friendly. But
I think it was so crazy. Like the other day, like yesterday, I think it was, or the day before, I'm not sure. I just started adding to my Instagram stories, which I don't really do. Or I didn't do that prior, especially for my personal. I just started doing it for my music page because why not? I have nothing better to do. And I'm trying to, at least start to network because my music isn't to the point where I'm proud of it yet. Or we'll say my production skills aren't, like my mastering skills aren't that great. But when it gets there, and if it gets there, I've been into more networking lately. Anyway, long story short, I'm adding to my Instagram stories, and you can add music to it. And I search in the search bar just out of curiosity, and my freaking music is there. And I'm like, wait, this feature wasn't even here when I freaking released this album, to my knowledge. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that's so weird. And what's even weirder is like the people that see my Instagram stories or just see anyone's Instagram stories, I'm like, who the heck are you? Like, but it's cool and all, but I just think it's just weird because I'm like, how does this person
How'd you
from
find me?
in this case, from the Ukraine, a verified account from the Ukraine, okay? I'm like, what? How did you even find this video of me on a razor, like, of all things? Like, I just think that's the strangest thing. And then you watched all of them, and I'm like, that's weird. You know, like, so I creep on the creepers. That's like my favorite thing to do online. Just be like, who are you? Why are you looking at my stuff? But I mean, go for it. Go to town, but it's just weird.
You're probably like, oh, great, Tessa's stalking my Instagram again. Crazy bitch.
No, you're not. You're so sweet and supportive, and I love it. I just started being more active on my music account, and it's so funny because I was like trying to add to my stories, and then all of a sudden it showed like at the bottom that there was people, and I'm like, wait, that only happens after you post a story. And then I'm like, wait, does that mean I'm freaking live, like staring down at my phone like this? I'm like, oh my God, am I on Instagram Live? Please shoot me now, because the other thing is that shit's there forever.
Now I have to go find it.
Like, especially when you do specifically a live Instagram. I don't know. I couldn't find it because it was only a couple seconds, but I'm just like, I watch like these celebrities, especially when you're in the conspiracy world and you have them talking like on their Instagram Lives. Like, how did they get, who's recording the Instagram Lives? That's what I want to know. Because don't they disappear after a certain amount of time or something?
No.
I could be wrong. Oh, no, they're just on there, huh? Instagram is, but some of them may disappear. I don't know. It's just weird because, like, people are sitting there, like, hyper-focusing on other people, and that freaks me out. I don't know if I would ever do an Instagram Live. That's just my own personal thing, though. I'm like, dude, I'm going to be sitting there talking. I did a couple live TikToks, and that was weird enough, because I'm like, what am I even doing on here? It's so weird. Like, it's different if it's recorded, but when it's live, like, anything could happen. Like, what if I fart? Like... Like,
Queen Laquifa.
What if I die?
Oh shit!
What if I die? Like I thought about that earlier, and I'm like, there are people, and you see those things, and people like dying on their lives, one way or the other. Someone breaking in their house, or.
So I think that there's a little unfounded, you're a little bit young. When I saw that, put it this way, I didn't know that was you on Instagram, because I even asked Sandra. I said, who's I don't have your Instagram name in front of me. And Sandra thought...
Antidote for Savages, if anybody wants to look it up.
I said, who's the Antidote for Savages? I said, some chick with...
Weirdo.
No, I didn't say weirdo.
She's awesome.
No, it was funny because I was looking at all...
Oh, I was hoping it's not weirdo. That's what I was going for.
No, okay, well...
Well, I think to some people you could be a weirdo, but to us you're just like one of us, right? So, I don't know.
You reminded me of girls I used to hang
out with.
One of us. Go ahead, Sleepy. Sorry, Diecast, Jay. Continue.
I'm very ADD today.
One of us. I have been chosen.
One of us. The chosen one.
Never mind. Let's move on. Anyway, let's go on.
Well, it was funny because, okay, so I think it was when it first popped up on Facebook, or you were sending out things, and I think it was me. He's like, Tess, is this Antidote for Savages? Is that Mia? And then I looked because I saw a post and looked back at it, and I was like, I don't think so. It kind of looks like her, but I'm not sure because you didn't say, hey, this is, I'm sharing this page, and if you see it, blah, 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 it's me. I didn't realize it, and then I looked into it, and I was like, oh my god, it is. Holy shit. Like, I'm just totally blown away, like, not only by the music, but the graphics that you do. And I thought, like, perhaps maybe these were ones that you found, but I think you actually put these graphics together for these different videos, and I'm just like, man, if I knew how to do that, or even the way you do a lot of these pictures, if I knew how to do that, I'd have it made, but I'm not. I'm ignorant.
Well, I just kind of use an app where you can use these free images and videos, but I layer them. My trick with that I've learned like within the last couple of them is so they're not so generic. Not only do I layer the what is it? The free videos, I also will layer like the free graphics with like a video in my camera roll and stuff. Like I've learned how to do that through this app. I'll show you it. It's pretty cool. I really don't know crap when it comes to being like doing like graphic art and stuff. Like I know my DAW has it, but I'm just not. It's not even that. It's just they don't have as much of. It's fun, but I don't have the patience or the attention span to do that. And music, I can hyper focus on for hours at a time. When it comes to something that I know nothing about, it's very hard for me to stay focused and do it, especially if I have like a certain amount of time to do it. If I'm like, okay, I just want to get this little clip out. I don't want to spend hours after I've spent time on the song, or two like on this song. I don't want to spend a freaking another, I don't know how long on making this. So instead, I'll just use the free ones, and then sometimes I'll layer them with an image. And then it's like, voila, it's a whole brand new image. If I layer the two together, so you make like one kind of transparent or the background image, you make one kind of like the background and make one kind of like the main focus. It's kind of, that's what I've just been doing lately. And it's been getting faster and faster and faster.
It's awesome. Yeah, I'm like, yay, look, I made a flyer for this show this weekend. Yeah, thinking I did something awesome, but I don't know how to do the layer upon layer unless it's font and other things. But these different things going on, I don't know. It's pretty intriguing. So yeah, you got to teach me.
I use a separate app and it's super easy. Yeah, dude, I will show you. It's so easy. There's multiple apps that you can use. The one I use is called Fire something, and I can't remember. Oh, it's not even called Fire or anything. It's called Video Leap. Oh my God. But I think there is one called Fire. I don't know. There's multiple ones, but I honestly do it from my phone. There's one for my computer, but again, I'm not just, it's too much.
Well, I just want you to know
it's really easy.
you're doing an awesome job.
And some of them, oh, thank you. I'm having fun. Like it freaks me out though. Like I've always had this paranoia thing of things that I post because they've backfired, especially if I'm talking about anything that's controversial. I've had the weirdest things happen to me when I post anything about anything controversial or conspiracy wise or anything like that. And so I just kind of quit and cut myself off. I quit using Facebook. I quit using like everything for like months because of the crap that happened to me after I did a couple posts on TikTok. No, it wasn't even trolls. It was like I got flagged or something. It was really weird. And I'm
on
like,
TikTok.
No,
oh my gosh.
I'm not about, I'm like, dude, I'm not about to storm the Capitol. Well, okay, it just got taken out of context because I had the mask on, okay? This was for my music project, but I unfortunately delved into some things that shouldn't have been talked about on my music thing. Things got flagged. I got like on this weird red list where my videos were like not getting any views for no apparent reason after they blew up. And then I'm like, okay, are you happy now? I'm shadowbound. I took those videos and it's taken months to get out of it. And they're finally getting views again where they weren't popping up on the For You page. It was really weird. And if you see on TikTok, a lot of these people, those accounts that are down as well, it's the censorship. But it was supposed to be for my music. And I'm like, I really don't want to have to make another one because then I have to spell it differently or put like different hyphens and shit in between it. Like, right? So I don't want to like taint that the answer for Savage's thing with this, and I already did on TikTok, but I think it's kind of pulling out of it now. I took all the videos down. I had like a ton of them, and they got tons of views. Like one of them just blew up, like thousands views and likes and stuff. And I was wearing the mask, and I'm like, oh no, I'm like I'm sort of like a. What do they call it? Like, what's the word?
Okay.
Not vigilante, but
Proud Boys. Proud Boys is one. A QAnon was another.
Some type of revolt. Yes, exactly. They thought it was some like revolting against the government. I'm like, dude, You're lucky if I leave the house, let alone, you know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
go out and, like...
I don't want to interrupt, but, Agron, I don't even know how to pronounce this. I think it's Agron said, has anyone had any experience with Bigfoot lately? And that takes me back to the day or the evening that we had that UFO experience, and then we came across that, what do you call it? Elemental.
Yes, it wasn't Bigfoot, but I'll tell you exactly what it was. It's a tree spirit. I looked it up, and in Celtic and whatever, it's in all across the world, really. There's a name for it, and it's like it wants to be left alone. It's a giant tree spirit. It's kind of on the negative side. It is on the negative side, and it wants to be not messed with. And I will get the name of it right now because I looked it up, and
it's interesting because I
it's
did
the
watch a
closest
video,
thing.
and I did share it on, I believe it was Four Corners Paranormal, but it could have been We Are Paradox Media. I'm not sure. Too many things going on. I'm trying to post things other than the Daily Thought. But there was this one that was in a bush, and it totally reminded me of the one that... Okay, so at first I saw it peek its head around the bush. And I'm like, hey, there's something over there. It just peeked around the bush. And we walked around it. We couldn't see it. So we kept walking and checking out the property. Got the shit scared out of us by some ground-dwelling fowl. And then on our way back, there it was again, as big as can be in this freaking bush. And the video that I watched today was super creepy, and it was another bush dweller. And it's like peeking around and moving around, and this thing is giant compared to a human. So it shows in this video, and I believe it's the last one on the video that I posted today. But it's in a bush, and it's moving around, and it shows a white picket fence. And it said this white picket fence would come up to the waist level of a regular human. This thing was gigantic. And the thing that was in the bush that we saw that night, compared to the size of Mia, and I do have pictures. If you guys want to go to We Are Paradox Media's page on Facebook later on, I will post those so you can see the actual SLS camera thing going on, as well as I was able to take a picture with my cell phone to get like the real perspective, what is actually going on and what you see on this SLS camera. It was like totally insane. And it jumped down on Mia from the bush, and then it was doing this movement like it was climbing her, and all of a sudden she said that she wasn't feeling good, or she was feeling something weird that was making her not feel well. And I was like, well, I didn't want to say anything because I wanted to see if you would notice it or react to it, but there was something that jumped off the bush, and it looked like it was trying to climb you to get back into the bush, which it would not have to or need to do that. It was so big, it could just get back in there. I think it just wanted you to get away. And so it kind of did its own little attack thing there, which made me feel bad because I was like, man, I should have said something. Now I feel guilty. But yeah, it was just very intriguing, and we were trying forever to figure out what the hell that was. I was thinking somebody buried at the base of the bush, haunting it, but I think you're right. I think it is like an elemental, or like you said, some sort of spirit that inhabits bushes or trees or whatnot. Gigantic.
Dryad. Okay, so this is one that I read. Dryad. Dryads are evil tree spirits according to legend. They are tree nymphs. It says it's female, although they have indistinctively appeared both in male and female forms. So I felt masculine or androgynous is what I felt from whatever this was. All I know is this wasn't a ghost. This thing, I got a headache by it. I just felt it was weird. So there's multiple legends about it. It says in Greek, Dryas means oak. Thus, dryads are specifically the nymphs of oak trees, although it has been used for all general tree nymphs. They were normally considered to be very shy creatures, except around the goddess Artemis, who was known to be a friend. But then I read something about them actually being evil. And so what I felt was something very negative. It wasn't about to jump on me, but it was just like, get away from me. That was the energy that I felt from it. There are other different, there's another one that I read that's like a similar description. I think it's all relative. Like all of these entities have a different description in different parts of the world and in different parts of history, but there's like all a similar thing. The weird thing about Bigfoot though is I have never been able to get a read on it.
Mm-hmm.
I've never experienced it firsthand, and I've never been able to get a read on it. And so I'm just always questioning what that phenomenon actually is, right? It could be anything.
I think it's an ancient ancestor of ours, like our distant cousin.
That's what I think. Because that's the most logical explanation, because there's so many sightings that can't be denied. But part of me is like, ooh, what is it? And part of me like rolls my eyes like I don't know. It seems like a legend to me. But then again, funny. I never believed in evil tree spirits that were that big that would do that
till you
either.
experienced
I never experienced them until and we saw it on our freaking camera, and I felt like literally it on my head and my stomach.
I don't think it was evil. I just think it was misguided and trying to protect its freaking juniper tree.
Or whatever.
But it's funny when we went.
It's gin.
Yeah, it's gin. Yes. Yeah, Savage Gin will be out. You guys just wait and see.
I read up on that, and it's not made from strictly juniper. In order for something to be considered gin, it just has to have juniper in it. So it can be made of like almost any type of alcohol, which I had no idea. Because I thought, wow, we have all these juniper trees here. I can totally like make gin. Just because that's something that I don't have to grow myself. It's already here. It's like a new project. And then I found out that no, it's not the juniper itself. You just have to add it to it. The juniper. Interesting.
Well, that's just what my daddy told me, so I will let him know. But yeah, I could totally see Savage Gin being something, or even Savage Gin, vodka, and tequila. We got a line coming out, folks, in the future. But yeah, it's interesting, this whole tree nymph thing, and the Bigfoot. Okay, so we all went to Enterprise Bar and Grill up in Rico. Very interesting investigation. If you guys haven't seen it, we do have a video on Four Corners Paranormal Investigations on Facebook. But the day after, everybody's like, okay, so we did this. What do you guys want to do next? So we scattered around the town. We actually met the mayor. He was super awesome. He's like, I got the keys to everything. You guys come back anytime. You're free to investigate anywhere you want. But I wanted to go up
in his flip-flops, bringing his dog in the post office. That's the town that I want to live in.
Indeed. Well, here, our mayor is Ashley from the Billy Goat. She actually started as a waitress there, inherited the Billy Goat, and then later on became the mayor of our town, which I find funny because in...
Billy Goat is a bar, by the way.
Yes. World-famous bar, just so you know. Billy Goat Saloon. But in Pettigrew, Arkansas, the mayor of that town was an actual fucking goat that was tied to the front of a car, and you drive by and say, howdy, mayor, or hey, mayor, or stop and feed him some treats or whatever.
Where is this? Because I'm moving.
Pettigrew, Arkansas. So it's the northeastern corner of Arkansas, near Boston. But yeah, it was a Billy Goat.
So
he died.
Mayor was a goat?
He died, several years ago. But yes, the mayor of that town was a goat that would sit there by the road and be tied to a car. It reminded me of the goat from, the Adam Sandler skit. But he was totally cool. Best mayor I ever knew. And everybody got along. It was mostly a farming town. Like Farmington, but not. Much smaller.
But not with the town.
Yeah, and actual farmers. But yeah, so the next day we go up from the Enterprise Bar and Grill to the mine, which our company was doing security for, because it used to be a place where people would go and do target practice. Now there's a company that's going up there to take all of the very bad chemicals out of the mine and put them into huge ass freaking bins and haul them off. Trying to clean out this mine from all the toxic waters and such before it leaks into the water, which I'm sure it was slowly but surely. But you and Richard were going around and looking for rocks, and I went across
There was lots of pyrite, and I like
it was gorgeous. There's tons and lots of really cool rocks. And I went across the creek to get pictures of whatever I could, and I actually found tracks. So I was blown away. I was like, holy shit. So I took pictures of them. I wish I had some plaster cast or even a bag of freaking, pancake mix or something to put in there. But we did find tracks, and it was funny before we went in. Do you remember we did the trespass dance?
I was just thinking about that today as I was trespassing on my own property. I looked at the sign and I was thinking, trespass dance.
Gotta do the trespass dance so we don't get caught. And it was funny because I got out first, and Jamie was sitting there waiting for us because she can't really get around very well. And we're calling for you guys. So we're like, come on, we gotta go. Come on, we gotta go. And it was like just as soon as each one of us got out of there, that's when the crew went up there and unlocked the gate and went through and was giving us the stank eye. But yeah, we got out just in time.
I remember that.
Good thing we did the trespass dance, because otherwise we would have been busted.
I think they kind of just bypassed us because they did see us. They were just like, meh. Not today.
Well, we were on the outside of the gate at that point when they pulled up.
Oh, we were?
Mm-hmm. We had all just barely gotten out, and then we heard the motor coming up the...
I saw them go by. I couldn't remember because we must have been right out the gate because not too far from the gate.
Yeah, just freaking barely. Had we not, like I said, had we not done the trespass dance, we would have been busted. But yeah, they came in and they're giving us the stank eye and looking at us like we're up to something, which, you guys are just looking for pretty rocks, and I'm just taking pictures of big footprints, we're pretty innocent, we're not vandalizing anything or breaking anything. I think we were perfectly innocent. But yeah.
We weren't doing drugs.
We weren't doing drugs. Well, just a little. They're not really drugs, they're herbs.
Okay, that doesn't count.
That's what I said. They're not drugs, they're herbs. They were put here by God for us to use, seed-bearing plants and such. And then Mia, she's wearing her teddy bear jacket and going across logs and shit. So we got all kinds of cool pictures, which are on Four Corners Paranormal. You just got to look back a few years. We had a lot of fun.
Oh, wow.
I want to fucking do it again. I just so miss it so bad.
I know. We have to. COVID totally messed up our investigations. But I'm in. And I'm not even really wanting to go back to Arizona for the winter, even though we might for a little while. I'd rather just buy an island in Nicaragua. But
right.
We'll see what happens.
So Adrian was saying...
you can come and then...
Go ahead.
It'll be fun. I just was gonna say, and then you can come, and what if we did, investigations, somewhere else, Central America, or...
That'd be interesting and kind of out of my comfort level. How do spirits react here? Hopefully it's the same as where we're from, but, yeah, that'd be totally cool. Just to have... It's basically kind of desolate. Not really, but, it's not overpopulated like a lot of other places.
Well, there's a lot of ancient stuff, ancient Maya, ancient, the Aztecs, and there's about a bunch of other tribes that don't even have names that were in Central and South America that we don't even know exactly, hardly anything about. It would be interesting to see what's there.
Well, if you guys want to watch that new Disney movie that we just saw, what is that ride? It's like the River Tour? Holy shit. Now I've got to look it up. I went and watched it, and now I don't even know what the name of it is. But while I'm looking for this, I got to read this real quick. Adrian said, Bigfoot exists in the Chuska Mountains. My first evening there, he started screaming in the valley. There has been a few times I was very scared out there all by myself, and this thing was out there, and I'm like, what the fuck? I hope I don't get killed out there, I kept thinking, and I keep praying that I was going to make it out there alive. And I didn't even mention that it came around almost every night bothering my camp, which was very creepy. Imagine something walking around in the pitch dark night, and you don't know whether it's going to barge inside the hogan, and you have to sleep with the gun every night, which I definitely would, even due to bears. They're eating people this year. And he said, did I mention that there's no electricity or running water or proper plumbing for a few hundred feet? Smoking the devil's lettuce, Tess, is a drug. Yeah, I could say peyote is too, but let's not throw rocks at each other, okay?
Was that last part necessary?
Right? Let's not throw rocks at each other, okay? But yeah, Bigfoot does exist and is pretty scary. Dwayne
I've
Johnson.
heard a lot about like the Appalachian. There's this legend of this really creepy like creature that they don't like to say the name of in the Appalachians.
I just found it. It's called The Jungle Cruise. If you guys haven't seen it, you got to go see it. It's awesome. It's like the ride at Disneyland,
Cruise?
but better. Yes, it's awesome.
I want to take a jungle cruise, but not in the what is it? The Amazon, whatever. It'd be scary.
Yeah, I want to say something, but I don't want to give the movie away. So I do have one of your songs uploaded. I haven't heard from Jay for a while, so I could play a song for our listeners just in case they have not heard your music.
Which one is it?
Bury Me in Heaven.
Okay. But I have a couple of posted that aren't quite finished yet, depending on what platform it is. Some of them I use, and yeah, that one's published. That one's good. There's one I'm working on, but it's, I'm not done yet. I'm finishing it. The lyrics, the vocal split. If you would like to. I'm down.
Sure. Yeah, I'm down. All right. Well, this is Miss Mea Savage with Bury Me in Heaven. You guys enjoy. Mia, would you like to tell our listeners where they can find you and where to find your music, etc.?
Sure. Antidote for Savages is on, I think, all platforms that I can think of. But you can also look up my personal Instagram, which is Mea Savage. I don't know why. I do tarot readings, but not for money at this time. So, but I do make exceptions. So, go ahead and DM me if you want a reading.
Yeah, Adrian just said, hey, this ain't as intense as Dave Scott's show or as fast. Sometimes I don't even think that dude is human at all because of the way his broadcast is sometimes and his reactions. But you know what? I like to fly by the seat of my pants, have a good time, and chillax with my peeps. So, yeah. Ain't no comparison, really. Two different genres. All right, Diecast J, could you tell our listeners where to find you, what you're doing, what you're up to?
Oh, yeah, I'm on a YouTube channel, Diecast Racing League now, since I lost everything in a storm over a week ago. On my backup files, I've been on a password. So, and Facebook, Diecast Racing. Pretty much Diecast Racing League now on Facebook too. Changed that. Had to change everything. You know, that was a pain.
Well, thank you guys again so much for being on the Paranormal Forum. I know it's a little different than it usually is, but I really had a good time. Yeah, just saying. Adrian, thank you for your input. I really appreciate it. Okay, and thank you to all of our friends on We Are Paradox Facebook, Spreaker, Twitter, Periscope, iHeartRadio, and wherever else beyond the Omniverse you're listening tonight. I had a wonderful time this evening, and I can't wait to do it again, which is tomorrow night. We have the show Heaven is Beautiful, and this is a show with Peter Pinagore, and he's going to be talking about his near-death experience, and it's going to be awesome and epic. You guys, don't forget, we are all in this together. Together we can make the world a little better. And together, my friends, we are Paradox Media, because without you, there is no us. Until next time, nighty-night, love and light. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Don't work too hard. Make sure you enjoy family, etc. Alright, so since Diecast J said it, I will invite you to the Skype after party. I know a lot of people are just like, worried about people just waltzing in, but if you want to join us,